Chapter 6 of Call Mr. Fortune. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Call Mr. Fortune by H.C. Bailey. Chapter 6, The Business Minister. Phase 1, The Scandal. "Oh, to be in England now that April's here," said Reggie Fortune, as, trying to hide himself in his coat, he slipped and slid down the gangway to his native land. The balloon boat behind him, lost in driving snow, could be inferred from escaping steam and the glimmer of a rosette of lights. "The Flying Dutchman's new packet," Reggie muttered, and hummed the helmsman's song from the opera, till a squall coming round the corner stung what of his face he could not bury like small shot. He continued to suffer. The heat in the Pullman was tinned. He did not like the toast. The train ran slow, and whenever he wiped the steamy window, he saw white-blanketed country and fresh swirls of snow. So he came into Victoria some 7 hours late, and it had no taxi. He said what he could. You imagine him, balanced by the 2 suitcases which he could not bear to part with, wading through deep snow from the tube station at Oxford Circus to Wimpole Street, and subsiding limp but still fluent into the arms of Sam, his factotum. And the snow went on falling. It was about this time, in his judgment, 11 p.m. on 15th April, that a man fell from the top story of Montmorency House, the hugest and newest of the new blocks of flats thereabouts. He fell down the well which lights the inner rooms, and, I suppose, made something of a thud as his body passed through the cushion of snow and hit the concrete below. But in the howl of the wind and the rattle of windows, it would have been extraordinary if anyone had heard him or taken him for something more than a slate or a chimney-pot. He was not in a condition to explain himself, and the snow went on falling. Mr. Fortune, though free from his coat and his hat and his scarf and his gloves, though scorching both hands and one foot at the hall fire, was still telling Sam his troubles when the Honorable Stanley Lomas came downstairs. Mr. Fortune said, "Help." "I had a good time," said Lomas cheerily. "Did you get to Seville?" "Oh, Peter, don't say things like that. I can't bear it. Have the feelings of a man. Be a brother, Lomas. I've been in nice, kind countries with a well-bred climate, and I come back to this epileptic blizzard, and here's Lomas, pale and perky, waiting for me on the mat. And then you're civil. Oh, sophonisba, ho." "I did rather want to see you," Lomas explained. "I hate seeing you. I hate seeing anything raw and alive. If you talk to me, I shall cry. My dear man, have you had dinner?" "Hours ago." "That wasn't quite nice of you, you know. When you come to see me, you shouldn't dine first. It makes me suspect your taste. Well, come and see me eat. That is a sight which has moved strong men to tears. The pure ecstasy of joy, Lomas. The sublime and the beautiful by our Fortune. And Sam says Elise had a timbale foie de gras and her very own entrecôte. Dine again, Whittington, and we will look up on the wine when it is red. My Chambertin is strongly indicated. And then I will fall asleep for 1,000 years. Same like the Sleeping Beauty. I wish I could. Lomas, old dear. Reggie turned and looked him over. Yes, you have been going it. You ought to get away. I dare say I shall. This is one of the things I'm going to ask you. What you think about resignation. Oh, Peter, as bad as that? Reggie whistled. Oh, sorry I was futile, but I couldn't know. Oh, there's been nothing in the papers. Only innuendos. Damn, you can't get away from it in the clubs. They had it out over dinner. Some months before, a new government had been formed, which was advertised to bring heaven down to earth without delay. And the first outward sign of its inward and spiritual grace was the great coal ramp. Some folks in the city began to buy the shares of certain coal companies. Some folks in the city began to spread rumors that the government was going to nationalize mines district by district. Those districts first in which the shares had been bought. The shares then went to a vast price. All the usual nauseating features of a stock exchange boom, said Reggie. No, this is founded on fact, said Lomas. That's the distinguishing feature. It was worked on the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Whoever started the game had exact and precise information. They only touched those companies which the government meant to take over. They knew everything, and they knew it right. Somebody of the inner circle gave the plan away. Politics is a cursed profession, said Reggie. Lomas looked gloomily at his Burgundy. Politicians are almost the lowest of God's creatures, he agreed. I know that. I'm a civil servant, but I don't see how any of them can have had a finger in this pie. The scheme hadn't come before the cabinet. Everybody knew, of course, that something was going to be done, but the whole point is the particular companies concerned in this primary provisional scheme. And nobody knew which they were but the president of the Board of Trade and his private secretary. The president. That's Horace Kimball. Yes. No politics about him. He's the rubber king, you know. He was brought in on the businessmen for a business cabinet cry. He was really put there to get these nationalization schemes through. And he begins by arousing city scandal. Businessmen and business methods. Well, give me the politicians after all. I was born respectable. I would rather be swindled in the quiet, old-fashioned way. I like a sense of style. Quite, said Lomas heartily. But I must say I have nothing against Kimball. He is the usual thing. Thinks he is like Napoleon. Pathetically anxious, you should suppose. He has been educated. But he really is quite an able fellow, and he means to be civil. Only he's mad to catch the fellow who gave his scheme away. I don't blame him. But it's damned awkward. If only Kimball and his private secretary knew, either Kimball or the private secretary gave it away. My dear Fortune, if you say things like that, I shall break down. That is the hopeless sort of jingle I say in my sleep. I believe Kimball's honest. That's his reputation. As keen as they make 'em, but absolutely straight. And why should he play double? He is ridiculously rich. If he wanted money, it was idiotic to go into the government. He would do much better for himself in business. No, he must have gone into politics for power and position and so on. And then, at the start of his career, is mucked by a financial scandal. You can't suppose he had a hand in it. It's too mad. Remains the private secretary. Don't Mr. Kimball like his private secretary? Oh, yes. Kimball thinks very well of him. I pointed out to Kimball that on the facts we were bound to suspect Sandford, and he was quite huffy about it. Said he had the highest opinion of Sandford, asked what evidence I had, and so on. Oh, very good and proper, and even intelligent. My respects to H. Kimball. What evidence have you, Lomas, old thing? You just put the case yourself, said Lomas with some irritation. Only Kimball and Sandford were in the secret. It's impossible in the nature of things Kimball should have sold it. Remains Sandford. Oh, Peter, that's not evidence. That's an argument. I know, confound you, but this is evidence of a sort. One of Sandford's friends is a young fellow called Walkden, and he's in one of the firms which have been running the stock exchange boom. It's queer, said Reggie, and lit a pipe. But it wouldn't hang a yellow dog. Do you think I don't know that? Lomas cried. We have nothing to act on, and they're all cursing me because we haven't. Meaning Kimball. Kimball? Kimball's calling twice a day to know how the case is going on, please. But the whole government on it now. Minutes from the Home Secretary, bitter mems from the Prime Minister. They want a scapegoat, of course. Governments do. Find us someone to hang, or we'll hang you. I told you I was thinking of resigning. Because they want to bully you into making a case against the private secretary. And you have a conscience? Lord, no. I'd convict him today if I could. I don't like the fellow. He's a young prig. But I can't convict him. No, I don't think they want to hang anybody in particular, but they must have somebody to hang, and I can't find him. It isn't much in my way, Reggie murmured. The civil service frightens me. I have a brother-in-law in the Treasury. Sometimes he lets me dine with him. Meditations among the tombs for Reginald. No, it isn't much in my way. I want passion and gore. But you intrigue me, Lomas, you do indeed. I would know more of Mr. Kimball and Secretary Sandford. They worry me. My God, they worry me, said Lomas heartily. Oh, they are too good to be true. I wonder if there's any other nigger in the woodpile. Well, I can't find him. Hope on, hope ever. Don't you remember it was the Dowager popped the Bohun sapphires? And don't you resign. If the Prime Minister sends you another nasty mem, say you have your eye on his golf pro. A man who putts like that must have something on his conscience. And don't you resign for all the politicians outside hell. It may be they wanted to get rid of you. I'll come and see you tomorrow.
I wish you would, said Lomas. You have a mighty good eye for a face.
My dear old thing, I never believe in faces, that's all. The only one I ever liked was that girl who broke her sister-in-law's nose. But I'll come round. Comforted by wine and sympathy, Lomas was sent away to trudge home through a foot of snow, and the snow went on falling. End of Chapter 6, Phase 1. Phase 2, The Private Secretary. The snow lingered. Though hoses washed it out of the highways, in every side street great mounds lay unmelted, and the park was dingily white. Reggie shivered as he got out of his car in Scotland Yard, and he scurried upstairs and put himself as close as he could to Loomis's fire, ousting Superintendent Bell.
"I'm waiting for you," said Loomis quietly. "There's a new fact. £3,000 have been paid into Sandford's account. It was handed in over the counter in notes of small amounts yesterday morning. Cashier fancies it was paid in by a stoutish man in glasses. Couldn't undertake to identify."
"It's a wicked world, Loomis. That wouldn't matter so much if it was sensible. Some day I will take to crime, just to show you how to do it." "Who is Sandford? What is he that such queer things happen round him?" "I don't know so much about queer, sir," said Superintendent Bell. "I suppose this 3,000 is his share of the swag."
"Oh, that's what we're meant to suppose," Reggie agreed. "That's what I resent." "You mean, why the devil should he have it put in the bank? He must know his account would be watched. That's the point I took," said Loomis wearily.
"Well, sir, as I was saying, it's the usual sort of thing," Superintendent Bell protested. "When a city gang has bought a fellow in a good position and got all they can get out of him, it often happens they don't care any more about him. They'd rather break him than not. It happened in the Bewick affair, the Grantley deal." He reeled off a string of cases. "What I mean to say, sir, there isn't honor among thieves. When they see one of themselves in a decent position, they'll do him in if they can. Envy, that's what it is. I suppose we're all envious, but in my experience, when a fellow isn't straight, he gets a double go of envy in him. I mean to say, for sheer spiteful envy, the crooks beat the band."
Reggie nodded.
Do you know, Bell, I don't ever remember your being wrong when you had given an opinion. By the way, what is your opinion?"
Superintendent Bell smiled slowly.
"We do have to be so careful, sir. Would you believe it, I don't so much as know who did the open-air work in the coal ramp. There was half a dozen firms in the boom. But who had the tip first, and who was doing the big business? I know no more than the babe in arms."
"Yes, there's some brains about," Loomis agreed.
But Reggie, who was watching the superintendent, said, "What's up your sleeve, Bell?" The superintendent laughed. "You do have a way of putting things, Mr. Fortune." He lit a cigarette and looked at his chief. "I don't know what you thought of Mr. Sandford, Mr. Loomis."
"More do I, Bell," said Loomis. "I only know he's not a man and a brother."
"What I should describe as a lonely cove, sir," Bell suggested. "Chiefly interested in himself, you might say."
"Well, he's a climber," said Loomis.
Well, well, who is Sandford? What is he that all the world doesn't love him?" Reggie asked. "Who was his papa, and what was his school?" "Well, now, it's rather odd you should ask that, sir," said Superintendent Bell.
"He didn't have a school. He didn't have a father," said Loomis. First he knows he was living with his widowed mother and only child in a little village in North Wales, something. He went to the local grammar school. He was a kind of prize boy. He got a scholarship at Pembroke, Oxford. Then Mrs. Sandford died, leaving him about £1 a week. He got firsts at Oxford and came into the Home Civil pretty high. He's done well in his department, and they can't stand him.
Good brain, no geniality, if you take my meaning, said the superintendent.
I hate him already, Reggie murmured. Oh, that's quite easy, said Loomis. Well, he's a clever second-rater, that's what it comes to.
Poor devil, Reggie murmured.
There's swarms of them in the service. The only odd thing about Sandford is that he don't seem to have any origins. Like that fellow in the Bible who had no ancestors, Melchizedek, was it? Well, Mrs. Sandford had no beginning either. She wasn't native to Lanfairfetchin. That's the place. She came there when Sandford was a small kid. Nobody there knows where from. He says he don't know where from. Nobody knows who his father was. He says he don't know. He says she left no papers of any sort. She had an annuity, and the £50 a year she left him was in consols. He never knew of any relations. Nobody in what's its name, can remember anybody ever coming to see her, and she died 10 years ago.
You might say it looked as if she wanted to hide, said Superintendent Bell. But, Lord, you can't tell. Might be just a sorrowful widow. It takes 'em that way sometime. Has anybody ever shown any interest in Melchizedek? Said Reggie.
Oh, Lord, no. Nobody ever heard of him out of his department, and there they all hate him. But he's the sort of fellow you can't keep down.
Poor devil, Reggie murmured again.
You won't be so damned sympathetic when you've met him, Loomis said.
A slip of paper was presented to him.
Hello, here's Kimball. I thought he was leaving me alone too long. Well, we've got something for him today.
He has a large, fat head. Thus some perky journalist began a sketch of the Right Honorable Horace Kimball, and he faithfully reported the first elementary fact of seeing Mr. Kimball, who looked a heavy fellow, with the bulk of his head and neck supported on a sturdy frame. But on further acquaintance, people discovered a vivacity of movement and a keenness of expression which made them uncomfortable. Yet he had, as I intend you to observe, a bluff, genial manner, and his cruelest critics were always those who had not met him. For the rest, he aimed at a beautiful neatness in his clothes, and succeeded. He rushed in.
"Well, Loomis, if we don't make an end of this business, it'll make an end of us," he announced, and flung himself at a chair. "Anything new?"
I have just been discussing it with Mr. Fortune.
"Oh, that's right. Want the best brains we can get."
He nodded his heavy head at Reggie.
"What do you make of it?"
"I don't wonder you find it harassing," Reggie said.
"Harassing? That's putting it mildly. I've lost more sleep over it than I want to think about."
He became aware that Reggie was studying him.
"A doctor, aren't you?" "I'm not a case, you know."
"I apologize for the professional instinct," Reggie said, "but it does make me say you ought to see your doctor, sir."
My doctor can't tell me anything I don't know. It's this scandal that's the matter with me. You wouldn't say I was sentimental, would you? You wouldn't take me for an innocent? Well, do you know, I've been in business 30 years, and I've never had one of my own people break faith with me. That's what irritates me. Somebody in my own office, somebody close to me, selling me. By God, it's maddening.
"Whom do you suspect?" said Reggie. Kimball flung himself about, and the chair creaked.
"Damn it, man, we've had all that out over and over again. I can't suspect anyone. I won't suspect anyone, but the thing's been done."
"As I understand, the only people who knew the scheme were yourself and Sanford, your secretary?"
"I'd as soon suspect myself as Sanford."
Yesterday, £3,000 in notes was paid by somebody who didn't give his name into Sanford's account," said Lomas.
"Great God!" said Kimball, and rolled back in his chair, breathing heavily. "That's what I wouldn't let myself believe."
"Have you got any brandy, Lomas?" said Reggie, watching his pallor professionally. Lomas started up. Reggie reached out and began to feel Kimball's pulse.
"Don't do that!"
said Kimball sharply, and dragged his hand away.
"Good Lord, man, I'm not ill. No, thanks, Lomas, nothing. I never touch spirits. I'll be all right in a moment. But it does rather knock me over to find I've got to believe it was Sanford."
He struggled out of his chair, walked to the window and flung it up and dabbed at his forehead. He stood there a moment in the raw air, took a pinch of snuff, and turned on them vigorously.
"There's no doubt about this evidence, We can't get away from it."
"I'm afraid we must ask Sanford for an explanation," said Lomas.
"Most unpleasant thing I ever did in my life," Kimball said. "Well, there's no help for it, I suppose. Still, he may have a perfectly good explanation. Damn it, I won't make up my mind till I must. I've always found him quite straight, and very efficient, too. Cleverest fellow I ever had about me. Send for him, then. Say I'll be glad to see him here. Come now, Lomas, what do you think yourself? He may be able to account for it quite naturally, eh?"
He may, but I can't see how," Lomas said gloomily. "Oh, can you?"
"I suppose you think I'm a fool, but I like to believe in my fellows," said Kimball.
And they passed an awkward 5 minutes till Sanford came. He looked a good young man. He was rather small, he was very lean, he wore eyeglasses. Everything about him was correct and restrained. But there was an oddity of structure about his face. It seemed to come to a point at the end of his nose, and yet his lower jaw looked heavy. He made graded salutations to Kimball, his chief, and to Lomas. He looked at Reggie and Superintendent Bell as though he expected them to retreat from his presence, and he turned upon Kimball a glance that bade him lose no time. Kimball seemed to find some difficulty in beginning. He cleared his throat, blew his nose, and took another pinch of snuff.
"I don't know if you guess why I sent for you," he broke out.
"I infer that it is on this matter of the gamble in coal shares," said Sanford precisely.
"Yes. Do you know any new fact?"
"Nothing has come before me."
"Well, there's something I want you to explain. I dare say you have a satisfactory explanation, but I'm bound to ask for it."
I have nothing to explain that I know of.
It's been brought to my knowledge that yesterday £3,000 in notes was paid into your account. Where did it come from?"
Sandford took off his glasses and cleaned them, and put them on again. "I have no information," he said in the most correct official manner.
"Good God, man! You must see what this means!" Kimball cried.
"I beg your pardon, sir. I have no notion of what it means. I find it difficult to believe that you have been correctly informed."
"You don't suppose I should take up a charge like this unless I was compelled to?"
"There's no doubt of the fact, Mr. Sandford," said Lomas gloomily. "Indeed, then I have only to say that no one has any authority to make payments into my account. As you have gone into the affair so carefully, I suppose you have found out who did." "He didn't give his name, you see. Can you tell us who he was?" Lomas said. "I repeat, sir, I know nothing about the transaction."
"And that's all you say?"
"I need hardly add that I shall not accept the money."
"You know the matter can't end there," Kimball cried. "Come, man, you're not doing yourself justice. Nothing could be worse for you than this tone. Can't you see that?"
"I beg your pardon, sir. I do not see what you wish me to say. You spoke of making a charge. Will you be so kind as to state it?"
"If you must have it. This boom was begun on information which only you had besides myself. And immediately after the boom this large sum is paid secretly into your account. You must see what everybody will say, what I should say myself if I didn't know you, that you sold the plan, and this money is your price. Come, you must have some explanation for us, some defense at least."
"I say again, sir, I know nothing of the matter. I should hope that what scandal may say will have no influence upon anyone who knows my character and my career."
"Good God, man! We're dealing with facts. Where did that £3,000 come from?"
"I have no information. I have no idea."
For the first time, Reggie spoke. "I wonder if you have a theory?"
"I don't consider it is my duty to imagine theories."
Do you know anyone who wants to ruin you, or why anyone should?"
"I beg your pardon. I must decline to be led into wild speculations of that kind."
Kimball started up.
"You make it impossible to do anything for you. I have given you every chance. Remember that. Every chance. It's beyond me now. I can only advise you to consider your position. I don't know whether your resignation will save you from worse consequences. I'll do what I can, but you make it very hard. Good morning. You had better not go back to the office."
"I deny every imputation," said Sandford. "Good morning, sir."
Half apologetically, Kimball turned to the others. "There's nothing for it, I suppose. We'll have to go through with it now. You'll let me have an official report. This fellow's hopeless. Poor devil."
"I can't say he touches my heart," said Lomas.
Kimball laughed without mirth. "Oh, he can't help himself," he said, and went out.
"I shouldn't have thought Kimball was so human," said Lomas.
"Well, sir, he always has stuck to his men, I must say," said Superintendent Bell.
"I wonder he could stick to Sandford for a day."
"That Mr. Sandford, he is what you might call a superior person." Bell chuckled. "Funny how they brazen it out, that kind."
"Yes, I don't doubt he thinks he was most impressive. Well, Fortune, there's not much here for you, I'm afraid."
Reggie had gone to the window and was fidgeting there. "I say, the wind's changed," said he. "That's something, anyway." End of Chapter 6, Phase 2.